It finally happened. Alberta drew a line in the sand and Danielle Smith stood firm. Mark Carney came to town expecting applause, deference, and political compliance. And instead, he got the door. In doing so, Alberta didn't just defend its energy industry. It sent a thunderous message to Ottawa. Hands off our resources, hands off our future. Mark Carney, with the confidence of an unelected elite and the tone of someone used to being obeyed, descended on Alberta carrying the banner of climate orthodoxy and centralist control. He came not to collaborate, but to dictate. Globalist carbon taxes disguised as national policy, talking points on sustainability, and bureaucratic frameworks that would gut the very industries that have built Alberta and Canada. But this time, the playbook didn't work. Danielle Smith didn't waffle. She didn't offer vague platitudes. She didn't try to find a middle ground that would still leave Alberta with the short end of the stick. She stood up, and she said no. No more secret deals masquerading as climate policy. No more letting unelected officials stroll into the West and treat us like a province to be managed, not a partner to be respected. Carney, the polished banker, the liberal insider, the darling of the Davos set, brought a plan wrapped in environmental buzzwords but soaked in economic control. At the heart of it, a carbon export tax. The goal? To give Ottawa leverage over how Alberta extracts, prices, and sells its own resources. It was never about the environment. It was about control. And Danielle Smith saw it for what it was. She didn't issue a carefully worded press release. She didn't stage a photo op. She ended the meeting. Period. Because Alberta is finished playing this game. We're tired of being scolded by people who've never been on a rig, never set foot in a drill site, and couldn't last an hour on a job site in Fort McMurray or Medicine Hat. Tired of being governed by people who see our contribution as a problem, not an asset. Tired of policies made in climate conference ballrooms with zero regard for the real-world impact on families who depend on oil and gas to live. Carney's carbon tax plan? It wasn't some breakthrough in emissions management. It was a direct hit on Alberta's economic independence, dressed up in the language of climate responsibility. And the hypocrisy is staggering. This is the same man who hides billions in offshore accounts while preaching sacrifice to everyday Canadians. The same man who profits from global green energy funds while demanding pipeline workers sacrifice their livelihoods in the name of environmental virtue. This is the elite playbook. They want to control what you produce, how you produce it, and who gets to profit. It's not about cleaner air, it's about a tighter grip. And when Alberta said no, it wasn't just rejecting a policy, it was rejecting a mindset. Because here's what they fear most: a strong, free, thriving Alberta. A province that shows the rest of Canada that growth doesn't have to come from central planning, that prosperity doesn't have to be granted by bureaucrats, and that economic success doesn't require permission from Toronto or Ottawa. When Alberta thrives, the Liberal model falls apart. That's why they want us dependent. On carbon handouts, on infrastructure approvals, on endless subsidies that come with strings attached. Dependency is their currency of control. And Danielle Smith just defaulted on that debt. This isn't just Alberta's fight anymore. Saskatchewan's watching. Newfoundland's watching. So is BC. And even Ontario is starting to feel the pressure. Because if Ottawa can bring Alberta to heel, they'll come for the next province and the next. This is about more than oil. It's about what kind of country Canada is going to be. Are we a union of equal provinces, free to chart their own course, manage their own resources, and protect their own interests? Or are we just satellites of Ottawa, managed by insiders, regulated into submission, and taxed into dependency? The next election won't be about climate alone. It will be about sovereignty, independence, and whether we still believe that local people should control local decisions. Look around. Farmers who can't afford diesel. Truckers suffocated by regulation. Small towns shrinking because Ottawa values photo ops over productivity. And while Canadians struggle, the Carney class cashes in. It's not a coincidence. Every time Canada cancels a pipeline, foreign energy companies win. Every time we cripple a refinery with red tape, Carney's green investment funds get stronger. He's not neutral. He's not just an economist. He's a major player in a global system that profits every time Canadian energy loses. Let's flip the script for a moment. Imagine if a conservative tried this, marching into a province they didn't represent, dodging taxes, pushing a sweeping economic change that would gut a local economy. The media would explode. But Carney gets praised because he fits the narrative, because he's one of them. Meanwhile, Danielle Smith gets labeled extreme for standing up for her province. That's not bias, that's complicity. The political class and their media enablers don't see the wave coming, but it's here. The silent majority, the people who work the rigs, who farm the land, who run the small businesses, they've had enough. They're tired of being blamed for problems created in Ottawa boardrooms. Tired of being shamed for producing the energy that keeps the lights on in every major city. Tired of being told that their sacrifices are for the greater good, while the elite skip the line and skip accountability. These Canadians want a government that builds, not bans. That backs workers, not just academic reports. That respects the grind, the risk, the reality of life outside the capital bubble. Danielle Smith is giving that voice power. Pierre Poilievre is amplifying it. And a true movement is beginning to rise. A movement that doesn't care what legacy media says. A movement that doesn't flinch when called names. A movement that's ready to fight for Canada. Not as an abstract idea, but as a nation of provinces, people, and purpose. This moment in Alberta isn't a blip. It's the beginning of something. Danielle Smith is invoking Section 92 of the Constitution to reassert Alberta's control over its resources. That's not rebellion. That's federalism working the way it was designed. It's legal, it's appropriate. And frankly, it's long overdue. And it's sparking change. Saskatchewan is watching. Other provinces are asking questions. Could this be the start of a new decentralization? A rebalancing of powers that finally gives provinces the space to succeed? Because here's the hard truth. Ottawa is out of touch. It's been captured by ideologues and lobbyists, chasing international praise instead of domestic prosperity. While Carney and his peers trade green speeches for global clout, rural Canada is being strangled. Inflation, job losses, regulations stacked on regulations. All while Carney lectures from his podium about just transitions and economic transformation. Concepts that mean absolutely nothing to the welder in Red Deer or the mechanic in Lethbridge trying to make payroll. Carney's export tax? It's not just flawed policy, it's economic sabotage. A tailored, strategic move to weaken Alberta's industry and redirect power to liberal strongholds. It's about weakening opposition provinces one by one and consolidating control where they feel safest, behind closed doors in the capital. But not this time. This time, Alberta pushed back. Danielle Smith drew the line, and now the rest of Canada is watching to see who will cross it. This isn't just a political event, it's a national reckoning, and the stakes couldn't be higher. If we let this stand, there may not be another opportunity. Because if Alberta falls, if its energy industry is brought under Ottawa's thumb, every other province is next, and the Canada we know, it disappears. So it's time. Time to get serious. Time to wake up. Time to stand up. For jobs. For sovereignty. For fairness. For the families who build this country every single day. This fight is no longer just Smith's to wage. It's ours to finish, because if we don't, the next headline won't be about resistance. It'll be about surrender. We're done being ruled by bureaucrats in glass towers. We're done with being taxed into poverty while the elite jet off to climate conferences. We're done with the spin, the shame, and the surrender. Danielle Smith threw down the gauntlet. And now it's up to us, Canadians who still believe in freedom, fairness, and the dignity of work, to pick it up. This isn't just a moment. This is a movement. Let's finish what she started.